Zoom, so we were fumbling around to put the right date up and see if the cameras are ready. And we are going to be able to live stream for anybody. A lot of people wrote in and said, could you live stream? And since we're here, we can do that. Today is March 25th, 2026. Town of Southington Board of Finance. We're going to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. We'll do a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Lebenik?
Here.
Mr. Pocock?
Here.
Mr. Bedoin?
Here.
Mr. Salerno?
Here.
Mrs. Wade?
Here.
Chair Larry?
Here. Okay, thank you. The first item on our agenda is a public hearing, and we will hear from anyone in the public regarding the item I'm going to read. But before we do that, we're going to have somebody present the item to us so that we could understand it and have clarity around it, and then we will take public comments on the public hearing item. So it's an ordinance appropriating $86,675,560 for costs related to the elementary facilities plan, including a new Kelly Elementary School, a fit-out of the South End Elementary School, and a closing of Flanders Elementary School, and a repurposing of the building and property for municipal and community use, and authorizing the issue of $86,675,560 of bonds and notes to finance the appropriation. So we'd like to have a presentation on this item.
Good evening.
Mr. Bedancy.
So, as was shared, Mr. Larry, the project, and you described it in pretty great detail there. It's for the expansion of South End Elementary School and a new construction on Kelly Elementary School. I know the bond note that's introduced tonight is for $86 million and change, but that's not the cost to the taxpayers. I think it's important to remember that there's a reimbursement rate that comes from the state. And that can vary. That depends on a few factors. One, it's called a notwithstanding or a space standard waiver, and that can be granted by the Department of Administrative Services if we can show that our projected enrollment will within 8 years reach or match the amount of square footage we're asking to build, and that would give us up to a 50% reimbursement rate. That's the state formula right now. That formula is recalculated annually, and so that 50% is for if we were to submit by June 30th. The second piece of reimbursement that can come our way is an additional 15%, and there is state legislation that if, as part of a new construction project, if you add either special education space or preschool space to a new construction project, you're eligible for that additional reimbursement. The difference with the special education space is you're only eligible for the space that you're building related to special education, that 15%. Whereas for preschool space, it's 15% reimbursement for the entire project, even beyond preschool. Some of the advantages to the preschool space obviously are, consolidation of the Hatton and Strong programs that are separated right now. Neither of those schools were built for preschool space, and so we do have some parking congestion problems, traffic problems at those two sites. This allows us, because of the lot being ideal, it allows us to address the parking and traffic flow for the preschool programs. Additionally, by moving those preschool classes out of both Hatton and Strong, it allows us to free up classroom space, which will assist with creating balanced utilization rates and comparable enrollments at our schools, because it'll free up those classrooms that are currently housing those preschool programs. And so I think that's another important piece. So the cost to the taxpayers may range anywhere between $31 million and $39 million, depending on the reimbursements that we end up getting approved for. A recent project in Plainville, it's my understanding that they applied for the space standard waiver for their middle school and they received it. And the same thing occurred in Cheshire. They applied for it and received it. And so it's not a a long shot to apply for that and receive it, but it does require some collaboration with the state delegation that we have from Southington representing us up in Hartford. But that's a part of the process. We wouldn't be requesting the legislative action on that until obviously after a grant application is submitted and we're notified that we're on the priority list. A question that's been asked often is why June 2nd versus November? If we wait till November, then the grant application won't be submitted until next June 30th of 2027, and you're not notified by the state then until December of 2027 of whether you're going to be on the priority list or not. There's a 6-month review period where they determine, based on the funds they have available, what projects they're going to award. And so that would push the project out an additional year, which potentially could impact, obviously escalation, is a factor. But in addition to that, the legislation's constantly changing, and that preschool incentive, if everyone's jumping on it, there's no guarantees it stays there. And so it's something we wanted to take advantage of now if we can. But we do understand that, given the recent revaluation, given, our proposed budgets, and given the timing of this in cost, that it's a complex situation. And so I want to acknowledge that as well. And I'm open for any questions you have. Okay, thank you.
Well, no, don't. Not that quick. Thank you for the presentation.
Yeah.
You did explain it, but I want to poke at it a little bit. It would make, so we have a lot of things. You mentioned it, and we have a lot of things hitting us at once. So I want to break them down, but then ask you a question. So the revaluation has nothing really to do with the budget. It's a required mark-to-market of all the properties in town, just so everybody knows. But in the revaluation, we had the overall grand list growth go up. I put my papers aside here. We had the overall grand list growth go up for real estate 53.7%. Usually, it's a state statute. Every 5 years you revalue, and every 10 years, or one of those, is a hard revaluation where they try to gain access to your house and take a closer look, and one is a book revaluation. Okay. It's all a noble process where they want to get the proper market values of the homes, of the properties. There's commercial, there's industrial, there's land, there's condos, there's big houses, small houses, business property. They want to get the accurate values of those, and in doing so, then you pay your taxes based upon how much property you own in town. So it's only fair that somebody look at the market value, which is based on supply and demand in the market, and say, what are these properties worth? And then when we have a budget and we have to go out and get taxes, like in the current year, it's $188 million, we have to get that from the taxpayers, and we spread it out and collect it based upon the value of the property you own. And that property could be real estate, that property can be vehicles, or that property could be business property, and I always say like pizza ovens, property used in the engagement of business. You acknowledge that we did have, and it's not a question for you, but you acknowledge we did have a shift. All the properties didn't move roughly 53.7%. Every other revaluation I've seen, everything moves pretty much the same way, and somebody pays a wee little bit more and somebody less, but it's negligible. This particular revaluation saw some modest homes, some starter type homes, or more modest homes, under 1,300 square feet, a lot of condos, a lot of small multifamilies, almost doubled in value, where some of the moderate size homes, the 3,000 square foot homes, kind of held at the same rate as the overall grand list, so they won't pay any more tax from this. And then some of the commercial properties and business properties post-COVID they revalued up, but not up 53.7%. They went up 30% or something less. So if you spread the same budget over the same properties under the new revaluation, the ones with the smaller properties are going to pay more, the ones with commercial are going to pay less, and the ones with like a 3,000 square foot home-ish will pay roughly the same thing if it was the same 188 million. So yes, that's facing our taxpayers. I want to just acknowledge that with a little long story. Number two, this budget came to us with a 9.5% tax increase. You could break all that down, I could describe it, but taxes are going up. So just for example, last year, we took 153,000 or 154 million from the taxpayers in taxes to fund the budget. This year, this budget seeks 168 million from the taxpayers. That's up 14 million. So we're looking at a 9.5% increase in taxes needed. And we're working on that, and you'll see that. So we have the revaluation, which doesn't affect the budget, but affects who pays and how much. On top of that, we've got this 9.5% ask. On top of that, there's an initiative to take some cash that was surplus cash that was there and use it to fix the parking lot and the tennis courts to solve a parking safety problem at the high school and also fix the tennis courts because everything's got to get pushed around to make the parking lot. So that comes at a cost of 4.2 million, I believe. And then now we're going to propose renovating the schools. When we go to these questions, the question you'll see in referendum or the question we're discussing now, we're appropriating 86.7 million because we have to put the total number in. We can't be sure of any reimbursement, so the law requires us to put in the full amount and prepare ourselves to bond the full amount, do our math
Correct.
based upon the full amount. So with all these things hitting at once, somebody in our position up here may say, that's a lot of stuff all at once, and the folks in the community are not going to understand what happened to them. I can go and explain one by one, and it will be very difficult because there's too many moving parts, and they don't have time to sort it all. They're just going to see a big tax bill, and they're going to say, what just happened to me? And that's something we have to explain, work on, try and get the most responsible budget. So all of that story for one question. Really, again, why now? What is the real risk? So what if it's next year? What is the real risk?
So I think I spoke to some of that.
Yeah, you
part
did, but
part
go
of
more.
that is financial, and the timelines. And I think another part of it is the amount of deferred maintenance that we're already undertaking at the buildings. So there are some parts. I'll use Kelly School as an example that are at the end of their useful life. The intercom system died. That's a primary safety feature in a school. We repurposed an old high school intercom system to get it there. The electric heating units that are in the walls often are breaking down, and we can't get replacement parts for those. And so our maintenance staff is Mickey Mousing them to run again, and they are electric heat, each classroom with an individual unit. When you go up into the second floor of all of those schools, Darrenowski, Flanders, and Kelly, I've sent students home because of the air quality conditions in the building in terms of the humidity and the heat that the teachers and the staff have to deal with. When we look at some of the comparable facilities that the kids have right now at other schools that have been addressed, I'm not so sure it's fair to keep putting these three schools off who deserve the same opportunities and experience. And so, we've been talking about this project, and I know a lot of people, maybe were aware or not aware, but we've been talking about this for several years now. And so I just hesitate to say next year because I've literally listed in updates to families all of the reasons why we've said next year, whether it was COVID, whether it was inflation and the economy post-COVID, whether it was hesitation due to enrollment, whether it was the the roads projects. Like each year we've said next year. Each year we wait is going to cost the taxpayers even more. And so in terms of me talking about the complexities of it, I think you spoke very well to it just now. The tennis court is cash funded. That shouldn't affect people's taxes. The reevaluation is going to affect some people, and I think you labeled it properly. The people that it may have picked are a certain category of homes that are maybe more starter families or people that have lived in those families for years, and that's probably the family that it's most difficult to pass an increase onto. But at the same time, even this project itself, we don't get announced, essentially, if we're going on the priority list until December, if we submit in June. And really, you just get announced that you're on the priority list. You don't get essentially awarded your dollars until June of 27. There's the promise, and then you get the formal award through the legislative session that happens right after they announce it in December. And so by the time you go through the design phase for the project, which is 18 months, we're looking a couple years out before I think you have any impact to debt service related to this project. I mean, unless I'm off, but I think we're not going to be bonding out of the gates for this. And so, I know you have the reevaluation in front of you right now, and I respect that. But I think the impact to the debt service, if we're looking at all of these at once, I just, tried to hopefully illustrate that it's not an impact based on all of the things you described, only some of them.
Yeah, thank you, and I think I gotta point out to everybody too, if we vote on this, it will not affect this year's taxes. This will be, like you said, there's two ways to bond something, and I like to say we're Southington strong here, in a nice way, without harming another part of the conversation, but a lot of towns use something called BANs, B-A-Ns, bond anticipation notices. They're broke. And what they do is they say, oh my gosh, we're gonna build a school, forget the reimbursement. We're gonna build a school for $86 million, we don't have anything, so let us go and borrow short term. And they go out and they buy these things called BANs, bond anticipation notices. They borrow those. As they dig the hole, they get one. Then they go a little bit percent completion. They go a little bit further, they get another one. A little bit further, they get another one. Then when they paid for the whole project, they go to pay off the BANs and roll them into municipal bonds. Mm-hmm. Luckily, Southington Strong over here, we don't do that. We have cash reserves. So we will dip into our cash. We will fund ourselves temporarily. And then when this project is at a point, we will call bond counsel and we will move to bundle and bond everything. So we fund ourselves to get to that point. That saves us money. Our credit rating is also the one low from the best. That's where we want to be. People have always said, how do we hit the best? If we hit the best, we lose it and gain it, lose it and gain it, and it's not healthy. So it's better to be AA plus or whatever. Different companies have different acronyms for their ratings. So we also have great financing rates. So this would roll on to the debt. And Chrissy, are you ready at all to talk about how this affects the debt, or? Because and the debt will come over years. So, and how debt works is some stuff rolls off as we pay it and some stuff rolls on. So I think of everything, I don't know if there's a clock in this room, but I think of everything like a clock, where we do the library and we get that on, and then we pay off some other stuff, and then we did the calendar house, and then we buy a big fire truck, a ladder truck, and we work our way around the infrastructure. We do a bridge. The roads come up every 5 years for work. We work our way around the capital budgeting dilemma, and we do a little bit each year so that we keep up with it. And if we have a gap, we end up with actually a problem. Because like you say, we wait, and while we're waiting to do this job, Hatton, Strong, Thalberg, the roofs are starting to fail, and those schools are considered already renovated. Mm-hmm. So we run into a little bit of a problem. So that's another impetus. But I don't think what we do here tonight regarding the schools will not affect the budget we have before us tonight. And Chrissy, any color you could add to that, or?
I can definitely do some more projecting and have some precise numbers, but our debt has been trending down. We did some refunding in FY25, and we have about $5 million less in debt. So for next Board of Finance meeting, I can, we just purchased a new software called DebtBook. So I'm really excited, and it has this tool that I can easily plug in some projections, and I can get a model for you.
Okay. But I think we all know that this will be paid back over, what can I say, 20 years, roughly?
Yeah, and I can do different projections for you, 20, 30 years.
So this won't hit us all at once. And oh, by the way, we're still paying for the middle schools. Mm-hmm. They're still on there. So you have to just understand this is a long cycle. It's like a mortgage kind of thing. Yep. So, all right, I took enough. I appreciate it.
And I know I'm speaking tonight, as your superintendent, but I want to thank our board members who are here tonight as well, who have been part of this conversation. And Mr. Oshana sends his regrets. He's actually watching this meeting
from the airplane.
From a plane right now. He's flying home from work for business, so he sends his regrets. But thank you.
Thank you. All right, we talked about it. Now we have to hear from the public, and a lot of people have said to us, I know everyone individually or whatever, but they say, I didn't go to a public hearing on March 3rd for the budget because nobody listens to me. I think tonight is one of those nights where we're looking for a little guidance. Do we kick this can down the road, or do we go for it? And I think we're all listening. So let's go one at a time. We'll limit it. If we get a big line, how many people want to speak or think they want to say something? Not so bad. Okay, then let's get up and let's say what we want to say. If it goes long, I'll start to put the 3-minute timer on, but let's let everybody talk.
Good evening. Tim Cannell, 79 Churchill Street. So thank you for the opportunity. In direct answer to the question that you just asked, John, do we go for it or do we kick the can down the road? I'm in support of this project moving forward. When, as you know, I was superintendent here for 7 years. I've been retired for 5 years. We started talking about this particular project, not in exactly the same form, but when I came on board in 2014. And some of the discussions that I had with Mr. Brumbach and Mr. Schota, previous town managers, all had to do with the what ifs. What if you do close a school? What's going to happen? And it was around Flanders coming back to the town, being used as a community center, and a new Kelly school being built on that property. Mr. Medancy and the board and team have done an amazing job. There's so much detail. If you look on their webpage and look at the district-wide facilities, as I'm sure you've all done, but if people at home do that as well, you'll see all the work that's going into this. But this project started easily 10 years ago, and everything gets moved back. Everything gets moved back, and it's really not fair to the kids, honestly, and it's not fair to the community. If we continue to push it off, it is going to be more expensive. There's no question about that. That's how things go these days. So there's an equity issue there. And the further along we go, how many more years will it be a difficult budget? How many more years will something intervene? The middle schools had to be done, so that was pushed in between. The original elementary school project was all the elementary schools. And I think that started in the 90s, with Strong and Thalberg and those renovations. So I, for one, believe that we need to finally push this forward. The time is right. The reimbursement is right. I think it's an excellent plan. They've done a tremendous amount of work on this. I think it's very, very, very well done, very complete. And I just hope that as a community we can get behind it, because it's going to benefit us all as a community. If you have good schools, you know this. That's why the library was done. That's why the middle schools were done. If you have good schools, you have good infrastructure, and you stay on top of it. I'm glad you mentioned that about that cycle, because that's exactly what it is. As things come off, other things go on. And that's really the only way that you can do it. You couldn't do it otherwise, quite honestly. So thanks. Appreciate the time.
Thank you. It's good to see you again. Okay, next speaker. Oh, what happened to all those hands?
Do I need to give my address or?
Just name an address or name and
Okay.
in relation to the town.
Sure. My name is Seth Corn. I live at Yorktown Road. Good evening, Board of Finance members and fellow community members. I am a parent of 2 current elementary school students at Kelly Elementary. I'm here to urge this board to move phase 1 of the elementary school facility plan to the June 2026 referendum. For years, I have attended almost every forum, read every report, and toured our facilities. Here's why the time for delay, it's ended. First, and this comes to you guys, the financial reality. This isn't just a school project. It is a critical municipal infrastructure project. The Board of Education and the Facilities Committee have vetted the data for years. Experts from multiple firms have consistently recommended Plan D as the most fiscally responsible path. We can receive up to 65% in state reimbursement for this project. Every month we delay, inflation drives, construction costs get higher, and we waste taxpayer money on patchwork repairs for buildings that are failing. Second, safety and equity. I appreciate those of you who have toured Kelly School. You saw the reality. Students dismissed early due to unhealthy building conditions for extreme heat in place structures dismantled because they are unsafe. Under Board of Education Policy 6161.3, we are legally required to provide comparable services and facilities across the district. Currently, we're failing that mandate. By allowing Kelly to deteriorate, we are exposing the town to significant legal liability and risking our eligibility for state and federal funding. Third, let the voters decide. The Board of Education and the Facilities Committee have done their due diligence. They have provided the roadmap. Now it is your responsibility to let the citizens of Southington have their say. If you haven't toured Kelly or the other 2 schools under consideration, I implore you to do so in the near future. You will see this is no longer a question of tradition or history. It is a question of basic safety and modern educational standards. Our teachers, our staff, and students have waited long enough. Let's keep the momentum going. The time is now to move Plan D to the June 2026 referendum and let this community invest in its future. I leave you with this. A school's history is found in its community, but its future depends on a safe, functional foundation. Let's build that foundation today. Thank you. And if it's okay, I would like to approach the dais and just give you guys a hand.
Please.
Good evening. I hadn't planned on speaking about this, but I just wanted to give some historical perspective because the other night somebody had mentioned a timeline. And I just wanted to go back to 1999 when my son, he had already left South End. No, he was in South End School. We had a referendum for Hatton, Strong, and Thalberg. And I don't know if y'all remember how we did schools back then. It was a little bit different. We ended up with Hatton School at Mary R. Queen in the CCD Center. I don't know if any of you remember, but that was 1999. And there was talk at that time of we have to do the other schools. So fast forward to 2005, there was a referendum. That was 21 years ago. There was a referendum. The Hatton, Strong, and Thalberg was also, the referendum was in June. And the South End, and it was then Plantsville, was 2005 in November. That was a few years ago. JFK and JAD got bumped in there, and that was 2011. I think the parents of Kelly have waited long enough. So I just wanted to share that with you so that you knew what the dates were and how long it's been. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly.
Hello, Nicole Montero, Hitchcock Road, Southington. I'm a mom of 2 kids. Both went through Kelly. My oldest is 22, just graduated from Rutgers University. She's also attending there to get her master's in education. When we were at Kelly School, this was talked about. The building is crumbling. The foundation is crumbling. The heating system, the electricity hasn't changed. It's time. It's time to rebuild Kelly School and to help our public education. I leave you with this. My husband and I were voting in the fall. A young family just moved in. They looked around and they said, this building is disgusting. What they didn't see was the staff, the principal. That's who made that building what it was at. And today I ask you, please, it's time. Our public schools deserve more.
Good evening. My name is Shma Green. I live at 67 Memorial Drive. I want to be clear, I support investing in our schools. Flanders, Kelly, and Darrenowski all need attention. That's not the concern. The concern is the timing, the transparency, and the financial clarity surrounding this proposal. As the Board of Finance, your responsibility is to evaluate not just the cost of a project, but its impact on taxpayers. And right now, there's still too many unanswered questions to make a fully informed decision. We are being asked to consider a significant referendum without a clear understanding of how it will affect the mill rate and ultimately the tax burden on residents. That matters, especially in a year when many families are already anticipating increases to their property taxes, but are unclear of what it looks like just yet. At the same time, information continues to become available to the public. Additional district-wide facilities committee meetings were uploaded just this month, despite the fact that they took place as long ago as 2020. That does not allow for meaningful public awareness or engagement. From a financial standpoint, there are also inconsistencies that deserve closer review. The current proposal moves forward with the new Kelly Elementary School, while the school identified as having the greatest needs, Daranoski, is deferred to a potential future referendum. Where are the financial implications of maintaining that building in the meantime? How does that impact long-term costs for taxpayers? There are also other long-term considerations. This project does not exist in isolation. There are other additional capital needs across the district that are going to be requiring funding, and that's unclear how this proposal fits into a broader, long-term financial plan for the town. In addition, we're presented with a status quo or a do-nothing option in this plan that exceeds $100 million, but without a clear breakdown of what that includes or when those costs would occur. Without that detail, it's difficult to make a responsible comparison. I would also ask you to consider the assumptions being made around the state reimbursement. The current plan references a reimbursement rate of up to 65%, but that's not guaranteed. It depends on final design, eligibility, and state approval. If those conditions are not met, the reimbursement could be significantly lower, shifting more of the financial burden onto taxpayers. That's a risk that should be fully evaluated and clearly communicated before any decision is made. There was something said by our Board of Education chair during January 27th district-wide facilities committee meeting that made me pause. He stated the taxpayers are not going to go along with this unless there's some sort of even if it's a perceived savings, because as we've talked about, the savings, it's a one-time savings. And the real savings is an entry-level teacher, so there's not this massive savings people think. In other words, there isn't a massive financial benefit. I would also encourage you to consider process. In Cheshire, a similar effort involved years of consistent meetings, investment in outside expertise, and meaningful community involvement. Even then, the referendum required time and adjustment before ultimately passed. That kind of process builds understanding and trust. Right now, many in this community do not feel informed, and they have not had the opportunity to be a part of this conversation in a meaningful way. This is not a small decision. It will impact taxpayers for decades. So I ask you, before moving forward, please take the time to ensure that this financial impact is clearly understood and that all information is fully available and that the community has had a real opportunity to engage. Because at this point, it's not clear that this is the most financially responsible situation for the entire town, only that it's the only plan currently being presented. Let's pause, let's regroup, let's work together as a community to do what's best for all of Southington. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments?
Hi, Angela Loretano, Hitchcock Road. Board of Finance members. This project is a step forward to bring the remaining elementary schools to a modern 21st century learning environment. I'm glad that the woman got up and spoke about the history of this because I only moved into this town in 2009, into my home in 2012, and I was told then Kelly was next. And as you heard from Mr. Cannellan, the timeline, it's been decades at this point that we knew the last three remaining schools would have to be next at some point, and now we're at 2026. The time is now for this project. The last elementary school that had any project done at was Oshana and completed in 2010. Again, now we're at 2026. We have 60-year-old buildings that are failing. Costly things are going to fail if we put this off any longer. Many without quick fixes. Mr. Benancy spoke to the intercom system. The electric heat in each classroom. I learned this week that they're all individual units. And if they break, there's no quick fix to those. There's no room in the ceilings to add HVAC systems and proper ventilation. This is just one example. The Board of Ed District-Wide Facilities Committee, along with consultant group, have spent years coming up with a data-driven plan to address these three remaining schools. They have had countless public meetings, including a townwide meeting that was about a year ago that they invited everybody to at a middle school. They presented their plan. People were allowed to come. They workshopped it afterwards. They've continued to add. New data has come up, and they've adapted to that. They presented the information in clear and many accessible formats. This plan is least disruptive and most cost-effective. As you're the Board of Finance, I'll try to focus on the most cost-effective side of bullet points here. But one of the biggest things that everybody does need to be aware of, that Kelly School is the only school in northwest corner of town. Mr. Bedancy spoke on how the site's large enough to build on with minimal disruption. The plan does include that preschool consolidation and the hopes of that 65% reimbursement level that the state is currently offering. As he said, that rate's set annually, so it's important to act now. Chairman Larry, I loved the clock analogy. I may be a professor at CCSU, but when you start talking numbers, my head starts spinning. But that was a great analogy to explain how all these large, important projects get funded, and that it's not this is the year and that everybody's going to get dinged and taxes increasing. That it's that you as a group try to work on rolling things through to alleviate that. One of the things this project is in multiple phases to help. They considered keep the town below the debt service limit throughout the duration of the project. As others have spoken tonight, doing nothing will start to cost millions of dollars. Since Darrenowski will be smaller in this proposal than the current building, one of the things somebody brought up this past week is why wouldn't that be first if it's such a dire need for their projects? But since it will be smaller, then Kelly has to come first. The South End build out has to come first, because otherwise people would have to get redistricted twice to shuffle students around to make all of this happen. So we need to get this proposed project started now to avoid costly repairs at all three schools. The new Kelly on this timeline would open in fall 2030. Then phase 2 can begin. Time is of the essence. Moving forward with this plan, it will result in balanced utilization rates, as Mr. Bedancy spoke on. Another thing, consistent commuting times for all across town. And as I stated earlier, modern 21st learning environments for all. No matter which elementary school our Southington children go to, my daughter's in 2nd grade. She's not going to see this. But I want to see it for the future of our town and the future students through all of our schools. So let's not delay this any further. It seems like timing is always an issue. There's always projects that come up, some of them known, some of them unknown, and these elementary schools have been pushed to the side for too long. Instead of having to pay for these emergency fixes, let's move forward to put money towards modern buildings to alleviate these issues. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
Hi there, my name's, excuse me, Sean Grindle. I live on 119 Pattonwood Drive, though it's for sale, so if anyone wants to buy it, go for it. It's a little advertisement there. I wear a lot of different hats as I stand here tonight. Educator, union leader, parent, taxpayer, so there's a lot of conflicting ideas in my head, so I'm gonna try to get it out the best I can. Mr. Leary, I wanna commend you. Last night, during the budget workshop, you spoke about how we as a society and as a town spend so much on the back end on criminal justice and locking up criminals and correcting bad behaviors. And then you said that you don't support cutting things on the front end, and I totally agree with that. That part actually changes outcomes, the part that we reach kids before things go wrong. And for decades, I've had this line that's been rumbling around in my head. So if you'll indulge me for a second, it's from one of my favorite television shows, The West Wing. Sam Seaborn famously says, "Education is the silver bullet. Education is everything. We don't need little changes. We need gigantic, monumental changes. Schools should be palaces. Competition for the best teachers should be fierce. They should be making six-figure salaries. Schools should be incredibly expensive for government and absolutely free of charge to its citizens, just like our national defense." And to me, that resonates tonight because that's exactly what we're talking about. For years, this community has been discussing this plan. When I first moved here 6 years ago, one of the first articles that I read in the Citizen that was thrown in my driveway was about this school project. Let me be clear, I support phase 1. Kelly needs to be rebuilt, strong, needs to be expanded. These are long overdue investments to our community, and our students do deserve modern, safe, and equitable facilities. But supporting this plan does not mean ignoring what we lose. Closing a school like Flanders is not just about the building. It's a loss of a community, a place where teachers know every child, where families are connected, where students feel seen and supported at every stage. And we need to be honest about something else tonight. We're having this conversation, investing in buildings at the exact same time that you're considering cutting the education budget that funds what happens inside of those buildings. Any percentage of reduction to the Board of Education budget is not small. In real terms, it means fewer teachers, large class sizes, and reduced programming, especially for students who need that support the most. So I have to ask, what are we actually prioritizing here? Facilities do matter, absolutely they do, but what happens inside of the facilities matters more. Research has made it clear for decades that smaller schools, smaller class sizes, improve student achievement, increase engagement, and strengthen relationships. A famous Tennessee Star study shows that that smaller class sizes, when they're reduced, especially in the early elementary grades, show measurable academic gains. Why? Because smaller classrooms allow teachers to catch learning gaps early. They allow for individual attention. They reduce behavior issues. They create environments where students feel known, where they feel like they belong. It's not theoretical. This is exactly what is happening in my classroom at Flanders right now. Flanders isn't just functioning, it's thriving. What is happening inside of buildings in this town what is happening inside of Flanders is second to none in this district. So if we're going to talk about building palaces, then we need to be honest about what that actually requires. Good schools are not defined by walls and roofs. They're defined by the people inside them, by the staffing, by the resources, and by the students. We as a community cannot claim to prioritize robust 21st century education while underfunding it. And that's the tension that we can't ignore tonight. Yes, our students deserve better facilities, but I also believe that we have a responsibility to protect what's already working, what's already serving students at the highest level. Because once you lose a school community, you're never going to get it back. Once you lose teachers, you're not going to get them back. Another point, and we're making a huge assumption here, that by not building now, it's going to increase the cost later. And it baffles me a bit because anyone looking around in the current economic climate knows that things cost more now than they didn't a few years ago. We don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. Is the space waiver only available this year? So yes, I support investing in our buildings. Education in a town is everything. As Mr. Leary said last night, let's catch them before. Yes, we need to prioritize education. New buildings are necessary, but not at the expense of things that go inside of those buildings. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other speakers tonight?
Hello, Todd Chaplinsky, 140 Washington Drive. I also attended the town council meeting on Monday and read a very long speech, so I decided to abridge it tonight to save everyone the punishment. So I will start now. Good evening, friends, neighbors, and members of our community. I'm here tonight to speak in support of the new Kelly and South End Schools referendum, not simply as a construction project, but as a smart, responsible investment in our town and our future. First, from a financial standpoint, this proposal represents the most cost-effective long-term option available. Approving this project avoids approximately $25 million in future capital expenses needed just to keep the Flanders building operational, while also reducing ongoing costs by consolidating from 8 schools to 7. With up to potentially 65% reimbursement from the state of Connecticut, plus the net cost of taxpayers for a brand new, fully modernized 21st century school is approximately $31 million. By comparison, spending roughly $25 million on capital improvements would only address basic facility issues and still leave the town maintaining a nearly 60-year-old building with no meaningful modernization or program updates. In other words, for a relatively small additional investment, we gain an entirely new school built to serve students for decades. It's also important to be clear about timing and impact. Even if approved, this project will not affect debt service for 2 years, and it was intentionally phased to keep the town well below its 9.5% debt service limit throughout its duration. We must be honest about the cost of doing nothing. Choosing not to act doesn't save money over time. It simply shifts spending towards repairs, inefficiencies, and diminishing returns. Second, this project directly improves student safety and learning conditions. Kelly School was built in 1966 for a very different era. Aging buildings struggle with overcrowding, outdated infrastructure, and limited space for modern instruction. A new school allows us to design a safe, secure, and accessible environment that supports how students learn today. Third, this referendum is about educational opportunity and fairness. Over the years, some schools in our community have benefited from modern facilities, while others have not. This project gives every child, regardless of neighborhood, the same opportunity to learn in a space designed for success. Finally, this is about our responsibility to the next generation. We have the chance to leave behind something better than what we inherited. I believe our children are worth that investment, and I encourage you to vote yes in support of this referendum. Thank you for your attention to this matter. And one other thing I just want to add is that if you did attend the town council meeting on Monday, or if you're in the room tonight, I encourage you to watch Mr. Medanti's comments that begin around 1 hour and 4 minutes in regards to some of the, I'll call them micro situations at Kelly School, at least in regards to the mechanical systems, the electrical systems. There was a point that former Superintendent Mr. Kennellan made about having to, for the AC, you basically had to not plug in certain devices or plugs so that the AC could work. That to me is a very gross situation in which these schools are obviously not in good physical repair. So I urge you all, if you haven't already, to potentially tour Kelly School and see what's behind the brick facade that you see from the outside. That's it.
Susan Zabahansky on Working Street in Plantsville. So the public hearing is just whether or not we're sending it to referendum, and I think obviously a project like this not only should be sent to referendum, but has to go to referendum because of the sheer amount that is being requested. So obviously that's a case, but my point is it should go in November when the majority of voters will be going to the polls anyway. Number one, to save the taxpayer money on having a second vote and having to print ballots. So if we're talking about saving money, let's save money there. I had questioned that in the town council about why we couldn't wait until November. And I was told that the grant application had to be in by June 30th. However, the referendum does not need to be attached to that grant application. And since the decision on that grant application is not until the next legislative session, which begins in January, that gives, and it's a 6-month process, that gives us, in November, if it passes a referendum, they can amend the grant application at that time. So that's something I think should be considered. And also the question that's being written, I have a question about that because the whole project is not 83 million. So what happens when we don't get the grant? If we don't get the grant, then what happens with the other, whatever it is, 40 million? Do we have to go back to another referendum?
No, that would be the will of the people. I got to stop and just answer that one.
Yep.
Because the actual ordinance would be for voters to vote. If they vote in the affirmative, they are appropriating 86.7 million. It doesn't say anywhere in here about a grant. So if the voters say yes, the voters have approved the bonding and the building at 86,675.
So does that drop because isn't the total being asked for 140 for this whole project, or am I incorrect?
No, this is a piece, they're separate pieces, but this would be 86,675. So if somebody said the state changed their mind, there are no more grants, and the voters voted in the affirmative,
Right.
we would move forward spending 86,675. That's why we put the whole amount in. And that's by law. We can't assume a lower number, trick the voters and say, listen, this car is 30 grand, but we're gonna get a rebate. It's only gonna cost you 8, vote for it. And they all say yes, and then we tell them it's 30 grand.
So Chairman Leary, where did the 140 million number come in? Is that the total for the project?
I'm not gonna speak to that number. I don't have that in front of me.
Okay.
I can only speak to the 86.
All right, well, that concerns me because then it could be this whole library debacle all over again.
There are other aspects to the Darrenowski piece, but that's another phase, that's another vote.
Exactly. So then more reason to save it till November, in my opinion. There's no rush because
that won't be there in November. I don't want to keep going back and
Yeah,
forth.
the legislative session doesn't begin until January of next year, for which this grant, by the time we apply for the grant, the legislative session is going to be closed. It's closing in the beginning of May. So there's no reason to rush this, and I think you should take time to educate all the voters in Southington and maybe send out a mail piece. I am the last person to advocate for more spending in Southington, but it might be worth a mail piece so that everyone is aware of what's happening. And you know, I know the superintendent has done a great job with presenting this. I know there's a lot of information, but as I said at the council meeting, most people don't pay attention until it affects them, till something's affecting them. And that's why you see so many people here when every other budget meeting, nobody's here. So I think it's important that everybody get educated, not just, you know, put it in June. And I don't think it's going to pass in June, to be quite honest. So for me, put it in June, but for the taxpayer, you know, if you really want it to be a true referendum, I think you should do it when most people are going to the polls anyway. Thank you.
Any other speakers on this? Let me just do a show of hands because it is a public hearing, if you want. How many people are in favor of this as proposed at this point? Okay. How many people are in favor of it with a different timeline? Okay. And how many people are not in favor of moving forward with this at this time? Any at all?
I don't think I know enough to go one way or the other. You didn't give that, but I would raise my hand for that.
Yeah. Okay, we got to go back. Any more public hearing comments? Please come up and make a comment, or we'll close the public hearing. Okay, hearing no more comments, we will thank everybody. We close the public hearing, and we move to a board discussion and action on this public hearing item. I won't read it again. We have to have a motion on it, and then we'll move to discussion. So would somebody like to make a motion? Joe, wanna make a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I can give you the, what you're actually motioning on as well. The action.
Use the microphone.
Mr. Chairman, the action you'll be taking is to either approve or disapprove and recommend or not recommend the bond ordinance. So you're approving, disapproving, and/or recommending, not recommending. Either or, which one? Both? We approve or recommend at different time?
I think it's all one thing.
Yeah, approve and recommend, or disapprove and not recommend.
I'll make a motion to approve and recommend.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Now we'll enter discussion.
We know some of these schools, Kelly School, I mean, everyone here is, it needs to be fixed. I mean, it needs to be fixed. My concern is people are gonna be opening their new tax bills July 1st, and they're not gonna be happy with any of us, no matter what, how you lean politically or who you vote for, this or that, they're gonna be ticked off. This is a bad budget year. The veterans on this board have said this is the worst one they've ever dealt with. And why wouldn't we want to get the biggest cross-section we can of our taxpayers in this town to voice their opinion on this project? And I have a real hard time with trying to get it in June. I just do. It's not right. I mean, the people are gonna open, like I say, you gotta give them at least a July to see what their tax bills, these seniors in this town and these working families, some of these people aren't gonna be able to pay their tax bills. I know it, and I think we are not being transparent and being forward and digest this, get more information out, educate everybody, because some of this stuff you're talking over everybody's heads. I mean, people who don't do this are not in this. We need more time, more information. Let the biggest cross section of our voting taxpayers voice their opinion on this, and then it's the true will of the people. And if they want it, well, you voted for it. It's like the library. This is what the people wanted. They voted for it. You can't complain about it. It's, I have a very, very hard time with a June referendum. I didn't like how any of this stuff went down. And it was like, well, I'll ram it, move, get it through, ram it through. What the hell are they talking about? And all these years, Mr. Cannella, this has been on the table for 2004 or whatever, 10, whatever it was. It's like, all of a sudden, no, we're gonna ram it through now and get it, no, we're gonna ram it, gotta get it June. It's like, we've been talking about this for years. So pump the brakes a little bit. Let everyone digest the information, get the information out to our taxpayers, let them get their new tax bill in July, and let them come in November when we have a governor's election. We know there'll be a bigger outturn of voters, and let the will of the people decide, not this, let's fly it under the radar, get it in, and the special interest groups on either side, for and against, may affect this true outcome of the vote. That's my thought. I have nothing else to say.
Is there a plan to promote this if we do it in June? Is there, I mean, just,
I
you
could
know.
defer to Mr. Bedancy, but you will be entering the blackout period very shortly. So
All right,
there's not, the taxpayer money cannot be spent very quickly.
That's my point.
And
It
that would
appears,
push us out to the project that we've been talking about it since I moved here in 2014, 2015.
long time,
Probably, yeah, so I mean, at least a decade. So that would push us out to begin the project, to just begin even the engineering phase until 2028 then, am I correct? If we hold off until November on the referendum, we wouldn't begin,
What would be the
and
difference
we wouldn't
in
begin
timeframe?
any,
So it's my understanding, if we don't do it this June, it pushes it out 1 year to the following June. You've heard some conflicting testimony, so I don't want to get into a back and forth.
Oh, okay,
All that I've been
wasn't-
told is it pushes out 1 year.
pushes us out 1 year, okay.
doesn't it go in the bond package though, Alex? Wouldn't it go in this, if for next year, wouldn't it go in this legislative session's bond package? Because session will be out by the time the referendum comes. I could be wrong.
They're going to consider, my understanding is they'll consider the grant, but then it goes in the next legislative session. But if we don't have it, like, meaning the next January, like, they'll take it up in December. But you have to have, there's an application deadline for the grant.
June
for what
3rd.
you- Right.
End of June is the application deadline
Like
for
anything you
next
apply
year.
Shouldn't we file it anyways, knowing the referendum's coming up, and pull it?
It seems like a bad idea to file, because then if you go back, if the referendum doesn't pass and we want to go for it again, we've applied for a grant, we've taken up their time, we've taken up all of this, and then we go back in November and say, oh, actually, no, thank you. I mean, that's not. the
Probably won't even
appropriate
look at
way
it yet.
Well, I don't know if they would allow us to apply has it not gone through referendum, but if they do, it also feels like it would be shooting ourselves in the foot. If the referendum doesn't pass, we might not be able to go for that grant again for a while.
Why, is that a fact? We want to be able to go to the grant again for a while? Mr. Menanti?
You can go every year,
Thank
but if I was giving a grant and someone wasted 6 months of my time, I might not be.
No, if we applied for it, if we moved, the referendum was moved to November, and we could do it, I would still encourage to apply for the grant in June. And just, if it got shot down, just pull it. The state's not gonna care.
Well, I don't know
for them.
that that's true, that the state won't care, A, but B, I don't know if the state will even allow us to apply for it if we require a referendum.
I don't know.
Can we apply, no, he said you can apply for it every year. Can you apply for it even if we haven't gone to referendum?
Sorry.
You can apply for the grant every year. Yeah, there's not a limit on the amount of times you can apply.
Okay, but even, I'm saying, if we don't go to referendum, can we still apply?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, the chances of getting approved, that's what's different. If you have a referendum that shows that you have the bonding support already for the project, you're far more likely to be put on it's called the priority list, than a town that doesn't have an obligation.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, I think we need to be on a priority list.
I think we need the most voters to come out and vote on the project of this scale. That's
All right, well, we're gonna
that's
we're gonna
not in
vote
front
on
of
it, we'll
us,
see how the
so.
vote lays, that's all. Because we have to take a vote now because of the timeline in front of us. So if we vote no, that's a fair vote, that's how the board works. If we vote yes, that's a fair vote, and that's how the board works. But we have to vote tonight to stay on this timeline. Don't have to vote yes tonight, we have to vote tonight. So, any more comments on it? Okay, then let's call for a roll call vote. Mrs. Marino?
Mr. Lebenek?
Yes.
Mr. Pocock? No. Mr. Bedoin?
No, because I prefer to have it in November when the most voters are showing up, not like 1/4 of the, that might show up in June, because it's such a big dollar amount that taxpayers need to vote, the majority.
Mr. Salerno?
No, same things Kevin said.
Mrs. Wade?
Yes.
Chair Larry?
Yes.
Tie.
Tie vote fails. Okay, 3-3, so the recommendation would be not to move forward. That's a recommendation then of the Board of Finance to Town Council.
So you can't move forward in another.
No, our recommendation is not to move forward.
They could still move it forward.
Yes.
Recommendation only. So it still goes to the town council and they vote, right? Just to clarify it? Okay.
It's a 3-3 no recommendation to Town Council, and now they've heard from the Fiscal Authority, they could then look at that and decide. Okay. Next thing, the approval of the minutes of the February 18th and the March 13th meeting minutes. Do we have a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Motion is second. Any discussion or corrections? Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the minutes carry 6-0. Now we're going to get into the budget, but before the budget, we're going to take a little break. If anybody here, the next action for us all is to approve the budget, which is another recommendation to Town Council. We're just going to take a moment of a break and stand up for a minute. We'll have about a 5-minute recess, and then we'll come back here. There are bathrooms outside the hall and up the stairs, I think. People have to use them. We're back.
Wait, we don't have Ed. We don't have Ed.
What? Where's Ed? Oh, he's over there.
Oh, it's already after.
What's John?
Let's talk. Why am I over here? Is this where I was?
Yeah.
My
Yeah,
pen,
we
my
just
pen
like
and
moved
my
you down
pen
a
and
couple
everything were
inches to
down
make
there.
you feel.
Okay, we got to backstep a little bit. We had a technicality. Got a ruling from our town attorney, and so Alex, if you,
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, so the town attorney's, his opinion is, right now you've taken no action. The charter and the ordinance requires you to make a recommendation or a non-recommendation. At this point, a failed recommendation is not a recommendation or a non-recommendation, so you should have one or the other. You know, with no recommendation whatsoever, you'd preclude the issuance of bonds whatsoever, and you would just jam up the council. They wouldn't be able to issue bonds.
No, I think he has a copy.
so you're going to read a motion, and we'll,
So looking for a motion to recommend a November 2026 referendum date to the town council in support of the bond ordinance.
somebody make that motion?
I'll make the motion.
We have a second to the motion?
I'll second.
All right, a motion and a second to make the recommendation on the bond ordinance to recommend a date of the November for the referendum.
November general election.
November general election. Okay, any discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Lebenek?
Yes.
Mr. Pocock?
No.
Mr. Bedoin?
Yes.
Mr. Salerno?
Yes.
Mrs. Wade?
No.
Chair Larry?
Yes.
4-2.
Okay. Okay. Now, we're going to move into our discussion to adopt the budget for fiscal year 2026, 2027. I think we all have before us the motions. I just want to make sure they're right because just make sure they're tied out. Chrissy, we're good?
One
Yeah,
quick thing,
please.
Mr. Chairman, I spoke with Mr. Pocock on the general budget. He'd like to take out the calendar house, which Mrs. Marino has done, to vote on that separately. He wants to abstain from that vote.
Okay. We able to do that on the fly, or you need a little time?
One moment, please.
Mr. Pocock drives the bus for Calendar House, and he abstains from the Calendar House vote, so we're trying to pick it out of the general government and separate the two. I don't have all the pieces. Unless Joe has the pieces. Still in one copy. Or is it all in? I just hope that's the right time.
Give that to John Leeson.
Or does all this tie to our number?
Stepper.
You had this, and this, and this. Is this our number? Did you tie this?
These are the new numbers, Alex said.
Calendar House? All right, that's for Ed. All right, so who's gonna make the motions? When you need them? Here, you take them, because you make the motions. To break the calendar house out. I just wanna make sure all these numbers tie. Give us just a second here. We're gonna make sure that all the components tie to the total, because we have a lot of moving parts, and we could vote on something, and
how?
we'll be like the state, we not know what it is, and we vote on it.
There was two items.
We're just taking the calendar house out.
We take the 25,000 from.
You can take it. I don't,
Is it in that number?
Said about that, 25,000 from.
These are, 25's out.
It
It's all,
is?
the 25
Okay,
for,
okay, I'm sorry. And,
I'm saying what we discussed at the beginning.
All right, John, to you.
oh, there it is, there it is, I see it. John.
Let me tie it out first, make sure it ties, and we could adjust it. But I gotta tie it just to make sure it ties to the total.
Oh, yeah.
I gotta have the stuff move for a second. Then it's okay, if you've got those little the 8 and the,
Well, the 8's already out.
Yeah. I think only
what else are you looking for?
dues and conferences or something.
Are we gonna remove, or no, are we not?
Let's leave it, let's forget it, because I just wanna make sure we tie.
Go ahead, John.
Let's just,
We'll be embarrassed.
Yep,
separate.
it has this,
Oh,
yes.
that's totally separate, sewer's totally separate.
No.
Animal's totally separate too.
That was.
Chrissy.
I'm sorry.
Is animal,
This is just for your reference. So on here, this includes animals.
Oh, it does?
Yeah, I looked how we did it last
okay.
year. For some
Oh.
reason, we did this separate.
animal appears twice.
Yes.
She knows it. It's in the general, but it's also in the animal.
Yes.
So it's okay, she'll fix it, she'll fix it.
Leave it, okay.
So he's gonna read off the motion. Whatever. Or, well,
I just feel like it's.
Say it again.
And we're not, so this is just essentially, this is just for reference.
Go ahead.
the board. Right here. That's the order.
No, they're in order, they're 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh, okay. I don't know, so he's.
Okay, I see, all right. Katie.
We can subtract it out.
I don't know, but if we subtract it out, then we have to, we're subtracting 3, we're subtracting 3 from 32 and removing, or just subtracting 220. Okay. So that would be,
Yeah, no. Yeah, we will. But you're only guessing. Yeah, supposedly nothing changed.
Okay, you believe 55, 558?
what do you have? What is it?
55, 558, 563. That's general government pure,
Correct.
general government
Okay.
loaded. And the animal and general.
Yep, so, these right here.
I don't, never. It's never been, no. I never had.
Joe has it. Joe, can I
Oh,
borrow?
I'm sorry.
So I have the overtime,
That's why.
the assistant, and then the 1,800, so we started with.
Oh, the uniform, yeah. So up by this, down by that. Yep, fine.
I never had either.
Just make sure Joe ties it to the total.
So this is, yeah, so
Here's our number.
So this is essentially, right, you see this is town, this is animal control, this is calendar house, and this ties to the 5640, 220, it's just counting this net 110 once.
Correct.
Okay, all right, I think that works, John.
Okay.
Thank you.
Animal control isn't that twice, so we're gonna reduce the general.
That was the cleanup that we had? Okay.
So it's all pieces.
We're ready to go.
All right, we're good. All right, you make the motions. He'll second them. This is general government pure. And Ed will abstain on the calendar house. He'll abstain everything else we go down the line. We're all good on everything else. We're good on everything, except calendar house will be out. And the dump truck's in.
Probably, yeah.
So we're gonna do, so this is.
And we're gonna go in this order, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
All right, okay.
Ready?
You want me to make all the motions?
Yeah.
All right. So
Kevin
the first one's the
seconded.
animal control.
Kevin, you second?
Yeah.
Okay. Here we go. Okay, we're going to now make motions in regarding the budget. What you're going to hear the motion made in 6 parts. One of them will be the animal control, then the sewer fund. They're separate funds. It's fund accounting, government accounting is fund accounting. So you're going to hear animal control, sewer, the first year of the 5-year capital plan. Then we're going to get into the debt service, and we're going to get, the next one will be the general government, and then the last one will be the Board of Education. All together is the budget. Oh, and we're going to break out the calendar house,
So 7.
the senior services. Okay? Here we go.
All right, Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve $220,634 for the Animal Control Fund budget fiscal year 26-27.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second, any discussion? All in favor? I mean, we got to do roll call, and we got to do roll call.
Mr. Lebenik?
Yes.
Mr. Pocock?
Yes.
Mr. Bedoin?
Yes.
Mr. Salerno?
Yes.
Mrs. Wade?
Yes.
Chair Larry?
Yes. Thank you. Motion carries 6-0.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve $6,810,193 for the sewer fund budget fiscal year 26-27.
Second.
Motion and a second, any discussion? Okay, roll call vote, please.
Mr. Lebenik?
Yes.
Mr. Pocock?
Yes.
Mr. Bedoin?
Yes.
Mr. Salerno?
Yes.
Mrs. Wade?
Yes.
Chair Larry?
Yes. Motion carries 6-0.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the first year of the 5-year capital improvement plan and to proceed with the recommended funding strategy as outlined in year 1 for $7,998,173.
Second that.
Motion and a second, any discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote, please. Roll call vote.
Mr. Lebenik?
Yes.
Mr. Pocock?
Yes.
Mr. Bedoin?
Yes.
Mr. Salerno?
Yes.
Mrs. Wade?
Yes.
Chair Larry?
Yes.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve $12,717,051 for the debt service budget for fiscal year 26-27.
Second.
Motion and a second, any discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Mr. Lebenik?
Yes.
Mr. Pocock?
Yes.
Mr. Bedoin?
Yes.
Mr. Salerno?
Yes.
Mrs. Wade?
Yes.
Chair Larry?
Yes. Motion carries 6-0.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve $709,048 for the calendar house fiscal year 26-27.
Second.
Motion and a second, any discussion? Hearing no discussion, roll call vote, calendar house.
Mr. Lebenik?
Yes.
Mr. Pocock?
Abstain.
Mr. Bedoin?
Yes.
Mr. Salerno?
Yes.
Mrs. Wade?
Yes.
Chair Larry?
Yes. Passes 5-0-1, one abstention. Okay, next.
All right, Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve $55,558,563 for the general government operating budget, which does not include the calendar house or animal control fund for fiscal year 26-27.
Second.
That was
That's missing, that's just the animal control out.
yeah, but that's the I think it's the right number.
Right.
It's the right number because it doesn't.
Okay, I gotta get, okay.
Are you sure? Are you,
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, all right.
I mean, if, that's calendar house out and, okay. We're good?
Yep.
You have a second?
Yeah.
Any further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Lebenek?
Yes.
Mr. Pocock?
Oh, this is the rest of it. Okay. Let's keep going. Okay, yep.
Mr. Bedoin?
Yes.
Mr. Salerno?
Yes.
Mrs. Wade?
Yes.
Chair Larry?
Yes, you got that recorded as a 6-0?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve $126,799,132 for the Board of Education operating budget fiscal year 26-27.
Second.
Motion and a second, any discussion?
Yes. I just wanted to thank the Board of Education, the superintendent, the district's finance director for the work that went into the proposed budget. It's thoughtful, it's responsible, and it reflects what the district believes is necessary to maintain the level of education our students deserve while meeting our obligations to the educators and staff who serve them. Southington is a strong community made up of younger families, working residents, and seniors. Everyone contributes, and everyone is feeling the strain of rising costs. That's a real economic reality facing our entire nation. It also means that this board has a responsibility to do more than simply weigh the matters. We have to explore tools that other municipalities use to help residents stay in their homes, including income-based tax relief, deferral programs. These are policy choices within our control. We should give them serious consideration. But tonight, we don't have any of that relief in place. And the reality is that over the past several years, the town has not kept pace with the actual cost of operating our schools. This is not a one-year issue, it is a pattern, and each year we fall short, the gap does not disappear, it carries forward. What were once small shortfalls have compounded into larger structural deficits that are now showing up in staffing pressures, program limitations, and real trade-offs for students. We are no longer talking about theoretical impacts, we are seeing them. We have to be honest about what our funding decisions are doing. If we continue to underfund the Board of Education, we are making a decision to accept the outcomes of that. I'm not comfortable with that, so I will be voting no this evening.
Okay, any further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Lebenek?
Yes.
Mr. Pocock?
Yes.
Mr. Bedoin?
Yes.
Mr. Salerno?
No.
Ms. Wade?
No.
Chair Larry?
Yes.
4-2.
Okay, we finished that. I wanted to make a couple of comments from me, and we could each make comments like Mrs. Wade made hers in the middle of it. We can do it now, too. You saw vote the budget, but sometimes it's hard to tell what's in it. I would have liked to have seen 3 firefighters in this budget. I would have been okay with 2, and I would have been okay with 1. I assessed the need without getting in deeper in it. They are not in this recommendation, and I just want to put that out there. There are other things that are in here. I can't go through piece by piece, but that was one piece that was something that I felt strongly for that did not occur. The rest of it is all in parts. There will be a full presentation on this budget. I think it's April 6th. I will figure out what we did here, put it all into slides, come back here to the town council and explain this whole recommendation, what's in the capital plan, what's every bit of it in detail in a slide presentation. But that was one thing that I did want to put out here. Any other comments regarding the budget from any members? So what did it do? The budget as presented to us was a 9.5% tax increase, and we got it to a 5.97. It's still the highest we've ever, the highest since I've been here that we've ever saw, and it's the highest we ever let survive. The last one, I think, was 4.3, which those of us who were here said that was very high, and now we're at 5.97% tax increase. Can go through all the drivers of it, but a lot of it is contractual raises. Majority of our stuff is people costs, and it's insurance, and it's people costs. Okay. But a full presentation will be made on it. Now that it's all been agreed here, we will make a full, complete recommendation with all the details to town council on the 6th. Okay, let us go back to our agenda. And the next thing we do is, well, we could skip the self-insurance update, I think, right?
It's fine.
Get into, we did that over and over again as we adjusted self-insurance for this budget. Okay, the financial assessment of the town, potential variations in revenue.
Revenues through the month of February were $934,122 over what we had budgeted through the month.
Okay. Any questions on revenue? Okay, on expenses.
Expenses, we have nothing outstanding other than what we will presenting with requests on the agenda. I do want to point out, though, our contingency, I know it will be coming up in the next agenda item, but we have pretty much depleted our contingency. The current balance after what is on the agenda to be approved tonight, if it is approved, the balance will be $28,555. This year, we did have to move some about about 100,000 for snow and ice. Actually, I'm sorry, almost 150,000 for snow and ice. We also saw some shortfalls, or we added a couple positions for regular wages. And you'll also see on the agenda for tonight, we had a little discrepancy at the end of the fiscal year last year for carry forward revaluation in the amount of $178,000. So, we had to use the contingency line item a little bit more than expected this year. So,
If I may, Mr. Chairman, on that 178, so it should have been carried forward in last year's budget, so it's actually in the rainy day fund right now. It just got absorbed in the rainy day fund, so the money's there. Pulling it out of the current budget, technically, if the Board of Finance wanted to make a recommendation to take it out of the rainy day fund, because that's where it is, they could, but we'd prefer to take it out of contingency, try to do some harvesting next month, and if it gets really tight, then we can go back, but I'd rather try to work within the confines of the current fiscal year.
Okay.
And it forces us to sharpen our pencils even sharper.
correct.
Investments.
For investments, our short-term rates continue to be 3.3% to 3.57. And we have roughly 103.4 million in short-term, and long-term, we have 20.16 million, with the interest rate holding steady at 3.34%.
Okay. Unassigned fund balance.
There has been no changes since our last meeting with the unassigned fund balance.
Any questions on anything?
No.
Okay, subcommittee reports, sewer?
I think did I have my notes from here? We have $800,000 left in the budget for sewer lining rehabilitation work. So the planned work for '26 is completed, and we're going to have the superintendent plan an additional $400,000 of lining and prepare for the possibility of another $400,000 in May. We just wanted to retain the ability to transfer that $400,000 back to the sewer reserves. I don't know if you're aware, we're doing a PCB removal in town, and so if that project comes in high, so we didn't want to spend the full $800,000, but if it's there, we'll keep lining the sewers. So that's it.
Okay. Public Works?
I don't have anything on that, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
I'll have a report.
I don't have anything either, Mr. Chairman. Public Works.
Okay. Open Space?
Not usual, about the same.
Confidential?
Always confidential, but
Economic Strike?
I don't have anything pop up, Alex.
Is that warehouse?
The warehouse on West Street is, I believe, going to be on the agenda fairly soon. There's also, there was a meeting about a possible zone change from industrial to business between Curtis and Spring Street. No application has come in, but that was in front of the committee. Other than that, demand is strong. Our economic development coordinator, Lou Perillo, has said that while we do have a lot of demand, some of our smaller businesses are really starting to feel some pressure. You'll notice downtown, some of the businesses are closing up, and he's worried about the economic climate going forward.
Any other subcommittee reports? We still have the Fire Commission liaison position. I think we got to strengthen our efforts there going forward, because we've got to be a little bit closer with what's going on in the fire department to be able to bring back the messaging back to this board as they move forward. So we'll talk about that more next time we meet. Public communications, excluding any public hearing items. Any more public communications?
Hello again. Colleen Clark. I reside at 612 South End Road in Plantsville. As you all know, I'm a member of the Board of Education, but I am not here this evening to represent the board. Only myself, a 40-plus year taxpayer of Southington. I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to speak to you and to the rest of the community tonight. I was here to ask that you fully fund the 26-27 Board of Ed budget, not as a luxury, but as a necessity, and I'm saddened that you didn't. The Board of Ed budget is not just numbers of staffing, benefits, and programs on pages. It is a reflection of what we as a community value. The budget represents the value of low class sizes for our youngest learners. It represents the value of middle school teams at our 2 middle schools as opposed to the mini high school, junior high model we used to have. It represents the value of having a comprehensive high school that offers students opportunity to explore not just college options, but to learn real-world skills that they can use right out of high school. This budget represented opportunities for children, support for our teachers and staff, and the future direction of our community. With reduced funding, the impact will be immediate and real. It will show up in larger class sizes, fewer course offerings, particularly at the high school, reduced support services, and an increased strain on educators who are already doing more with less. These are not abstract consequences. They will affect students every single day. Cuts also have a broader community impact. Strong schools help maintain property values, attract families and businesses, and contribute to the vibrant, stable town that Southington is known to be. Investing in education is not just an expense. It's one of the smartest long-term investments that we all can make. Now, it has been said on social media that the Board of Ed budget is bloated, or that it wants too much, or that schools don't know the difference between want and need. Here's the reality. The board has been in a spending freeze since December. Last fiscal year, a last-minute state appropriation got the board through till the end of the year. There is no board contingency or rainy day fund, as the town has, so it can't harvest unspent money in May to spend in other areas. The board budget is as lean and transparent as we can possibly make it. I understand budgets are difficult, and I do appreciate the difficult work that you all had to do. Every dollar does matter, but we have to ask ourselves, will the cuts do long-term harm? And where will investments do the most good? Education is an area where cuts carry long-term consequences, and investments yield lasting returns. Our students only get one chance at their education. We owe it to them to provide the resources that they need to succeed, not just adequately, but fully. Thank you.
Thank you.
Susan Zabahansky, Plantsville. So I'd like to thank you guys for diligently looking at this budget, because it isn't just about the small population that attends our public school system that we have to think about. We have to think about the entire population, 44,000+ people in Southington who can't afford to live here. It's great to have good schools, but when those young adults can't move back into the community that they graduated from, we're just sending those great adults out into other communities. They can't afford to come back in because they can't afford to live here. It took me a long time to be able to move back into Southington after I graduated here from high school. And so I'm thankful that you reduced it. You know my thoughts. It's never enough reduction. And I like to say it's not a reduced funding, just to be clear for everyone sitting in this room. It's a reduced ask. It's still an increase to the Board of Ed budget. And we've increased the Board of Ed budget year over year for the last forever. It's never been a zero increase. So I thank you guys for being diligent and looking forward. As far as the firefighters go, I thank you for not passing that forward, because the firefighters have received 6 men in the last 5 years, and the number of call volumes have not gone up, and they would not even budge when it came to backfilling a 4th position, when it came to, making any kind of compromise. They wouldn't do it. So I appreciate that it did not go forward. Thank you.
Sean Grindle, 119 Pattonwood Drive. Only wrote one thing to say tonight because I just couldn't fathom the thought that you would make that big a cut to the education budget. Susan's leaving, but I'm going to push back on some of the things that she just said. It's not been increases. It's not been increases. It's been level services. It's been flat for years, for at least the last 3 years, if I'm remembering my facts right. When you pay more for power in your house, I know, John, you like analogies. When you pay for more power in your house, but you're getting the same amount of power year after year, it's not like you're suddenly getting more power. Okay? What the teachers and educators are doing in this town is taking the power that they're given and returning fantastic results. I know that last year you, Mr. Leary, you commented on, like, where's the return on investment? How do we measure that? our scores are above the state average, well above, right? We are doing a lot with very, very little. And while Mr. Medancy is asking for more, we're not getting more. In fact, we're getting far, far less this year. We fined $4 million to build tennis courts, which is great. I played tennis. I was on a state championship tennis team. I love watching tennis. I love playing tennis. I love parking in a parking lot. Can we not use that money to pay for the programs and educators that are going to lose their jobs next fiscal year? If we can find that money, why can't we find money for the people that you were just talking about? I'll have more to say at town council, but thank you.
Any more public comments?
My name is Richard Cooper. Hello. I live at 79 Barbara Lane. So I just want to make a general statement. This is failed state sounding stuff. When students are sent home because the air in our schools isn't safe to breathe, that's a basic breakdown in responsibility. Failed state sounding stuff, you guys. Fix it.
Thank you. Other comments? Okay, we will close public comments. Any board communications, member-to-member communications? Okay, we have a new spot in here for town department communications. If a department wants to come and tell us something they're doing or something they need, any town department communications? We'll try and encourage those going forward. Tonight's a long meeting. Okay, administrative business. So we have the consent agenda. This is typically, it is only money received that just has to be appropriated back to the line item so it could be spent. It's equivalent to like an insurance claim. Something gets damaged, the insurance company pays us, we got to apply the money back to the line where the damage occurred. So I'd like to take the consent agenda in its entirety. I'll read it if somebody just makes the motion and we'll move forward. So to appropriate $2,671.36 for fire department extra duty reimbursements. Number 2 is an appropriation for $6,970.08 for the police insurance proceeds from a damaged cruiser. Appropriation $13,050 for the highway insurance proceeds from damaged guardrails. And appropriation $19,348.90 for the elections for the early voting grant received. Do I have a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented?
I'll make a motion to accept it. Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstain. Consent agenda is approved 6-0. The next one, 8 items, administrative business, town manager memos. A department transfer, 1,009, somebody else want to read them? You want to?
No, go ahead.
A department transfer, $1,984, police temporary wages to tuition. We have a motion?
I make a motion.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Number 1 carries 6-0. Number 2, department transfer $400. Planning and zoning from meal allowance to longevity.
Make a motion to approve the transfer.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 That one carries. Number 3, department transfer $90. Planning and zoning office supplies to vehicle maintenance.
I move that we make the transfer.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. 6-0. Number 4, contingency transfer $15,000 even from general fund calendar house building maintenance.
Make a motion.
Motion. Do we have a second? Motion and a second, discussion?
Okay, see it, yeah.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain?
Abstain.
Abstain. Okay, we have a 501, motion passes. Next one, contingency transfer, $10,000 calendar house utilities.
I move that we make the transfer.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain?
Abstain.
Yep. Okay, number 6, contingency transfer, $40,000 even. General fund, finance unemployment compensation.
Make a motion to approve the transfer.
Second.
Do you want to be heard on this, Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, we should.
So, a lot of this unemployment compensation is not due to folks being terminated from the town. It's some folks who have actually left town employment to go to different entities, and then they're terminated there. So how it works is you're on the hook for the previous quarters that they were employed by you. So even though they voluntarily left our departments, went to a different department, say the water department, which is not us, if they get terminated there, they collect unemployment, we're on the hook for the tail for that several-year period that they're employed from us.
That's
So
crazy.
That's what.
That makes no sense.
How long
terrible.
does that last? As like a,
It's every, whatever, how long they go back, I think they go back a few years.
okay. Yeah.
So somebody could voluntarily leave our employ, go somewhere else, run into a particular circumstance, and we have to pay their unemployment.
Well, we share it with the new, the most recent employer, but it's based on, there could be somebody behind us if they worked for somebody else too.
All right, this
so
is normal.
It's
connected.
Is it all businesses or is it just municipality?
all businesses. But
Okay.
we're self-funded for unemployment, so we see it. A lot of folks pay unemployment insurance, but we pay every penny off the dollar.
I'll be. And this is a good, we proved this out. Okay. Any more discussion?
No.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 And this is what killed our contingency. Okay, next. Contingency transfer $50,000 to the old Southington landfill. We have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second?
Second.
Alex?
So this is we're doing some additional work with our attorneys and our environmental consultant on the landfill. We're trying to actually lower the monitoring frequency and the amount that we need to, because under the current EPA decree, we're doing things constantly. I will say there's a little bit of good news here. We're looking to, I know we've had some solar programs be proposed. I've contacted a few different vendors. I'm looking to see if there's a vendor who can get approval through the EPA to solarize that parcel with some non-penetrating solar panel systems, just using some sort of blocks. I've seen them in other places, so I'm looking at that. So hopefully, I'd like to turn the old landfill from a liability to possibly a revenue generator. But right now, this is very expensive. And just to kind of say how big of a liability this is, we paid a water bill today for a resident who lives next door. From 1991 court case, we're paying their water bill for eternity because we poisoned a well. So this is the gift that we'll never stop giving.
Is that old Turnpike?
Yeah.
Is this the PCP?
No, this is just the landfill. Yeah.
Okay.
No, I don't.
I know where it is.
remember when it was, yeah, across from Chuck and Eddie's.
And that's still a capped with the test plugs.
It's capped with the plugs and then a few feet of fill above it and grass.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, abstained. Next one, the last one, contingency transfer, $178,177.20. The assessor for carry forward revaluation. Let's do a motion in a second, then we'll go to discussion. We'll tee it up
Make
then.
a motion to approve.
Second.
Alex?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this is reval money that was budgeted for the past fiscal year. It wasn't incurred until this current fiscal year. However, a non-lapsing carry forward wasn't put in the last year's budget, so it went into the rainy day fund. So that's where that money is. Again, we're trying to pay for it out of current year budget before we tap any of our excess reserves. And I do have one more kind of add-on I'm going to ask you to add to the agenda after this one as well.
Okay. Any more discussion? I did want to say one thing. I wrote a draft policy on the unassigned fund balance. So I hope you'll take that and look at it and see if you could write it up in a policy that makes sense to you. Because when I'm thinking now more so when we look at the unassigned fund balance, we have our new report to look at that. Sometimes what's unassigned is actually assigned, and we have to make sure that when we say something or commit to something that we take that money and we tag it so it becomes assigned and comes out of the unassigned. And also when we propose a budget, for example, this budget had spending going up, I lost track of the number because we've changed so many pieces of it, but spending went up $14 million. We have to then put aside 11% of that into our rainy day fund. So the moment we propose a budget like this, we should pencil in that we have to assign X amount of dollars, 11% of new spending that's proposed, into the rainy day fund. So we should do all that so we never lose track of something it accidentally remains in the unassigned where it should be in fact assigned. So let's keep that just in mind, work towards that policy, and when you get it how you want it, this board will read it and we'll enact it into our fiscal policies when you're ready. Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Abstained? Okay, 6-0, it carries. You want to add one on?
I'm looking for a motion to add, there, in your packet, the last page, there's a transfer request. This transfer request is from the last snowstorm. It's about $127,000 it cost us. $30,000 of that was for school access walks, and the rest of it was for plowing, salt, etc. As we discussed, we're out of contingency. We've already moved over $100,000 for contingency for snow and ice. However, the highway department has been extremely fiscally responsible this past budget year and hasn't taken on all the manning that they're authorized to. So there's a foreman position there that has not been filled. That's slated for about $91,000. So I spoke with Mrs. Marino, myself spoke with the superintendent today, and he's agreed not to continue to fill that position for the rest of the year, take that money along with a couple small little items, and then I spoke with the police chief earlier today, and we agreed to take $34,000. He has no objections to taking $34,000 out of his special revenue account. That comes from the private duty car allowances. So we're trying to pay this extraordinary snow and ice precipitation winter through the money that we have before we dip into any sort of reserves. So I'm looking for a motion to add it to the agenda and then a motion to act on.
I'll make the motion to add.
Second.
All those in favor to add signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, it's added. Now let's act on it. Just, could you read it, Alex, because it's not in front of us?
Yep, so.
Then we'll act on it.
3 transfers, so $91,250 from the Highway Parks regular wages account, $1,000 from the Highway Parks longevity account, $1,050 from the Highway Parks boot and foul weather gear. That's a transfer. So we can do that, and then we can do the appropriation, which is separate if you'd like, to break it up. Because the transfer, you want to do that one, then we'll do the second one.
Want to put them all together?
We could do
Put them
them
together
and then-
because it's all nets.
And then $34,110 from the police special duty revenue account, moving all of those funds to snow and ice removal contraction services account.
I move that we approve the transfers and appropriations to the snow and ice removal account.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Okay, that carries 6-0. Now we'll look for Our favorite motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, motion to adjourn in a second. All in favor? Aye. We adjourn at 8:55. Thank you, everybody, and the process works. If we do, we do what's right, process works, and it'll go up through the rest of the process.